to notch at least 35 points and 5 assists in 8 straight games.
Oh, my God, numbers.
Which was a mark he shared with Oscar Robertson.
Yes.
But the most remarkable stat from last night is that he scored 43 points on 8 made field goals.
Yeah, how many turnovers?
Which makes him the first player in NBA history to score over 40 on 8 or fewer makes. And it's the 8th time in his career he's done that. Well, he scored 40 or more on 10 or fewer field goals.
That's the most numbers you've ever said in 30 seconds.
Because it's so many numbers. Like, he might go down as the greatest offensive player in NBA history. And I don't even put that much stock in James Harden in the postseason. But the numbers that he's putting up are incredible. You can't deny that.
I don't like numbers. I was bad at math.
I'm bad at math too.
My checkbook's a mess. I don't like numbers. You just went numbers on me.
You should get an accountant for that.
You should have literally grabbed a phone book and started reading numbers. I'm like, Joy.
I mean, these numbers are crazy, though.
You're an emotional person. You emote.
I do emote.
And you just went numbers on me.
Because here's the thing about James Harden. Normally, I emote about James Harden because I don't trust him in the postseason either.
Thank you.
However, I'm at a conflict because you always bring it back to LeBron James, and I feel like everybody can't be LeBron James.
That's true.
So I feel like we hold everyone to that standard. That's not fair.
You know, that reminds me of my New Year's resolution in reality, which is I need to be nicer to LeBron.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted that.
I've been so critical of him.
I disagree with you there. I think you're very balanced.
Okay, Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
You know,
News.
let's solve this because he was a college basketball star. My friend the Duggar, Fox Sports Radio. Come on, get out here. I got to talk about this whole James Harden thing. All right, here we go. Now, you and I disagree on a lot of stuff, but we always kind of respect each other's opinions. I believe in analytics, but I don't turn my head to analytics. They matter. So I'm not one of these Charles Barkley where it's all about analytics and no analytics. I'm kind of 70-30 analytics, but here's what I know. Usage rate.
Yes.
When
I thought I was going to have to bring this up. His usage rate is so high.
He has the ball constantly.
Constantly.
So his numbers are all amazing.
Yes.
I don't think in June, I've seen Westbrook and Harden. Last year, Doug, James Harden went 0 for 11 on threes. It's not because his vision was bad. His legs were shot.
And there's actually a reason why. There's 2 reasons he doesn't play defense. One is because he doesn't play defense, and he hasn't had a coach. You know, they did play better defense in the playoffs, but a coach who truly held him accountable to defending better.
Yeah.
But additionally, it takes a bunch of your energy away.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's the part about LeBron that is amazing, is he's taking a lot more plays off now.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt defensively. But is that LeBron could have such a high usage rate and defend at a reasonable level at the other end.
Kawhi Leonard's probably the best at it in the league.
Correct. And that hurts his ability at times to score. That's why a lot of times he plays without the basketball. But I think when you get into playoff basketball, he ain't getting 27 free throws. Ain't happening. Okay? And he's going to have to defend a little bit better. All that takes away from the juice you have in your body. And that's going to hurt. So it's like a different sport in the playoffs. But to Joy's point, which is a good one, which is he might go down as statistically the best offensive player. All of these guys, this is no different than the NFL, where we have 12, 13, 4,000-yard passers. There's more plays. Look, college football. Why are they setting so many records? Well, they run more plays. There's 100 plays in a college football game for teams that they never had before. More plays, more passes, and oh yeah, by the way, now we count bowl games and as well as conference championship games. More games. It's going to make stats on steroids. So to get back to Harden, I think it's sustainable for the regular season, but the game is officiated differently, and he has to play differently, and that's why I think it's ultimately doomed to fail.
We were talking about this, is that as a former college basketball player, and somebody asked me the other day, they said, was Doug a good player? And I said, when Doug left college basketball, I remember watching you, I said he was the number 7 assist guy in the history of the sport. Doug was a great college basketball player, and at the time, a great program, Oklahoma State. And I remember watching you in college. You were you were really an old school point guard, dish, deal, run the floor.
I was Rondo.
Yeah, you were. You played defense. You
couldn't shoot. It was Rondo.
Yeah, couldn't shoot. Acknowledged.
I mean, I couldn't make it. I could shoot, but it wouldn't go in.
It didn't go in.
It wouldn't go in.
But it's interesting about this because there is, when you talk about the NFL's always been about the roster. The NBA is about the star and the player. It feels like the Steelers have become incredibly beholden to the star, whereas Alabama, 10-year dynasty, New England, 18-year dynasty, are beholden to the system. This is the downside to the star. The upside is drama, fun, exciting, fantasy points. The downside is they're trapped with Antonio Brown. They got trapped with Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's kind of taken the NBA model, which is we're going to build around about 5 guys who are absurd. But the last year, Bell, Brown, and even Ben sometimes, you're trapped.
Yes, let's not undersell the fact that Ben has all kinds of off-the-field issues in his past.
Yes.
And on the field, he's not always easy. He couldn't get along with Todd Haley, and now he gets his boys offensive coordinator, and they never run the football anymore, even though Pittsburgh's always run the football. Yes. I also think it's who Pittsburgh always used to be in terms of how they dealt with contracts. They always used to... They tried to be like New England for years on the defensive side of the football, and Antonio Brown is one of the first guys that they've ever paid at the top level at his position.
Right.
But this also goes into the Odell Beckham Jr., right? Like here you have huge name, huge ego, huge talent, wide receivers who both get these big contracts, and both are kind of turds, even though they're both super, super talented.
Yeah. I think football to me has always been, next man up is not a basketball term because there is no next Kevin Durant. As great as Jason Taylor was, if Jason got hurt for the Dolphins, you have 4 other defensive ends on the roster. They're not Jason, but somebody's going to have to put pressure on. Football players are largely at least semi-replaceable. There is no other Khalil Mack.
Right. But the Khalil Mack thing is, I'm glad you brought that up. That was immediately which is all that John Gruden's saying. John Gruden didn't say Khalil Mack stunk. No, they actually traded for 2 first-round picks. Nobody gets traded for 2 first-round picks.
Right.
He was saying, our team sucks, and we have Khalil Mack. So it really doesn't matter. Why are we going to overpay Khalil Mack and give him this huge contract, which hurts our ability to rebuild a team when even with Khalil Mack,
we're terrible.
We're not a good football team, right? So
not a good defense.
No. Right? They weren't a good defense when they went to the playoffs a couple years ago with Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
So now we're going to pay Khalil Mack?
It's impossible to compare basketball and football. There's too many positions you have to fill on a football team. And unless it's the quarterback, I mean, look at the difference that LeBron James makes leaving Cleveland to the Lakers. One player can change the course of the history of your organization. It's not the same way in the
I would
NFL.
make the argument, if I ran an NBA team, I would always side on paying the star. If I ran a football team with almost no exceptions, I would always side on grind him in contract negotiations or let him go. Aaron Rodgers is one of the few, and Drew Brees. But I was saying this yesterday. There's only 4 players, in my opinion. You could disagree with this. I think there's only 4 quarterbacks in the league. Aaron's no longer one of them because he's 35 now and more brittle and kind of hard to coach. 4 quarterbacks in the league you can give average talent to, and they can carry it. I call them my bore 4. They're all boring. Brady, Brees, Russell Wilson, Luck.
Brees went 5 years without making the playoffs. They're 7-9 because he had no defense.
Well, I mean, he's got now a really good possession receiver.
But they also have a really good defense. They have a really good. They built a really good team around him.
Who in the NFL? I guess this is my point with the Steelers. Let's come back to the Steelers.
Yes.
What would you do with Antonio Brown? What do you do now?
Well, if you trade him before June 1st, it's like $20 million in dead cap money.
It kills you.
So you can't trade him before the draft.
Right.
So you can't we're going to trade him for a first-round pick. I kind of think you got to get him in the room, and you got to send. This is where Tomlin has to make his money. I just work with TJ Hushmanzada. We just guest hosted the Dan Patrick Show on Fox Sports Radio, and he's like, "Look, Antonio Brown grew up in Miami, idolizing Chad Johnson. I'm telling you, this is just like when I played with Chad Johnson." And he's like, the only way you're going to do it is tough love. He's like, now look, Ben Roethlisberger is not the easiest guy to deal with. So this is where but we've never thought that Mike Tomlin is an X and O guy, right? He's not.
No, he's an emotion. He's a Pete Carroll kind of emote.
Okay, so if Mike Tomlin is as good as everybody believes him to be, I think you think a little bit less of him than most people in the NFL do, at getting guys all together and figured out a way to work. He has to make a way, because you can't, even if you were to wait until after June 1st and trade Antonio Brown, whatever you're getting back in return, it takes too long to get him up to speed to what Big Ben wants to do. The team, by the way, seems to be supporting not supporting Antonio Brown. Juju Smith-Schuster is their MVP, right?
Right.
They also. I think most of the guys in that locker room, or at least the outspoken ones in that locker room, on the offensive side of the ball, are all about the team and not about Antonio and not about Le'Veon. And maybe that runs in conflict with what the defensive guys. They got a mess there because they should be playing right now, and they're not. And the guy who's got to fix it, this is where you're Mike Tomlin. If you're not an X and O guy, it's not an emotion guy. You're hey, can I get everybody to work together to pull in the same direction? If not, somebody's got to go, and you got to figure out a way to move on from Antonio Brown because you're not going to find another quarterback in short order.
By the way, it's a wild card weekend in the NFL. Stick around.
Yep.
I'm going to take a break. It's a wild card weekend. Doug and I will kind of go back and forth. It is a new year today. Happy
New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year to you, my friend Doug Gottlieb, the Duggar. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to watch the Rose Bowl 2 in 5 hours. The rest of the bowl games I don't give a rip about. Doug, that herd hierarchy.